Hey there, this is Dustin Dart. I'm the president of Ascent Sales International and best-selling author of several sales books and business success books and motivational books. And in the last few videos, we've been sharing some experiences that I went through that made a massive impact in my sales success. And some of the shifts, some of the paradigm shifts that I went through. We've been through a journey together. If you watched all three of these videos, we have been through this journey. I feel like we know each other, even though we've maybe never met. It's okay. When I share things from my heart, that's a gift that I give to you, and hopefully it reciprocates, and hopefully it makes an impact. But this video is one of the biggest shifts that happened to me a little bit later on in my career that was extremely impactful. And it changed everything for me. You see, when I began to study sales success, what was being taught at that particular time, and is still is taught today, predominantly taught today for most of the sales trainers, is that you must be a killer. You must be the closer. You must ABC. You must always be closing, like Wolf of Wall Street type of style, right? And so as I was mastering sales success, I learned every single close, and I practiced every single close, and I mastered every single close, and I was relentless in my closing abilities. And I became what you would probably consider a hardcore closer, okay? Hardcore closer. And one day, I met with a very large client. Walked into his big, nice office, big, nice, opulent desk, and I knew that I was going to close him. That's how I went into every single sale. I'm going to close this guy, or I'm going to close this gal, and they're not going to be able to say anything about it. I'm going to close them. They're closed, right? And so he was a high roller. He was a good guy. He was highly successful, had a lot of money to invest in the products that we were selling. And I sat down and, started the rapport talk with him. Started to get him to like me, right? And we did. We got off with a great rapport. And I could tell that he was liking me. I could tell that he was, we were bonding before I went in for the close. And I started to actually respect this gentleman for his story, for the type of family man that he was, for the type of businessman that he was, and I really started to respect him. And anyways, the sales conversation progressed until it was time for the close. And I laid it on heavy. I went in for my best closes. Anything that he could say, I had the answer to, and he couldn't escape my grasp. Right? I went for the hardcore close. I was laying it in heavy. And I knew I was going to get the sell. And then something happened that just changed everything for me. That just changed everything that I had learned about sales success. Flipped on a dime. Just like that. And this is what happened. He kind of looked at me a little funny and kind of furrowed his brow a little bit and kind of had a little smirk on him. I could sense a little bit of maybe disappointment in his face and his demeanor. And then he just said something. He said this, "Dustin, are you trying to close me?" And I started to feel a little bit ashamed. I was like, man, closing is dead. And then right there, everything changed for me. Everything changed. Closing is dead. And the rest of the meeting, things were off. I mean, I was actually shaken to my core because everything that I learned about sales success up to that point had just been completely destroyed in 1 millisecond from what he just said and how he reacted to my selling abilities. And this is a man that I respected. Closing is dead. And I did not get the sale. And I went into a few weeks, perhaps a few months of a funk because my belief system was shattered. And here's the deal. I knew that he was right. I knew what he said was correct. Closing was dead. And the way of closing, of being the hardcore, manipulative, pushy, never take no for an answer, I knew that that was not right. I knew that it was off in my core. And so everything shifted from that point. And I continued to sell in the same way that I'd been selling, just because that's what I knew and that I was good at, and I was having success with it. But every time I went in for the close, every time that I used one of these closing techniques, man, I felt weird after that. I just felt icky. You know what I'm saying? I felt just like dirty about it. I felt uncomfortable. Don't really know how to describe it. It just wasn't part of my integral alignment. Does that make sense? And so that went on for a while until finally it's just like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. Like, I need to find a new way to sell, because the closing, the craziness, the pushing, the manipulating, I can't do it anymore. I don't feel good about it anymore. And it was driving me crazy. And so I knew that I had to figure out a new way to sell. And so I went for a search. I looked for many different sales programs out there. Every single one of them had as their apex, had as their climax, the close. I was like, what is going on, man? I can't get away from this close, you know? And I could not find any sales system out there that I could adopt as part of my selling system that didn't have closing as the main focus point. And so what I decided to do is I decided to create my own selling system. And so I'll make a long story short. One weekend, I just said to my wife, I'm going to the mountains. I'm going by myself. And so I went camping by myself for a few days. And I went to this really amazing mountain range. It's called the Uinta Mountains in Utah. It's just a sacred place for me. A place where you can truly get alone in the wilderness. And the first night, set my tent up, had my dinner over the fire, slept in my tent all by myself. And the next morning went on a big, huge, long nature hike. Saw the birds, saw the trees, saw the plants, the wildlife. And I was in a state of Zen, you know? I was in that state of Zen. And I got back, I opened up my notebook, and I started to write. And I started to come up with the different processes of the perfect sales presentation. I got to tell you something. Have you ever been in one of those moments where just like it flowed? The energy, you know, the intelligence, the infinite intelligence just flowed into your mind, and what you were writing you felt like didn't actually come from you? Well, that's what happened with me. It just came. And in a matter of a few minutes, it seemed like, I had the perfect sales process that was non-manipulative, that didn't require a sales rep to go through the silly closes, through the silly rebuttals, and everything else. It was the perfect yet powerful sales process. And I knew that what had come through me was absolute gold. Okay? I knew that it was absolute gold. And I was excited about it. I felt good about it. And so I started to implement it in my sales process. And when I started to use it with my clients and my prospects, everything was in alignment. I felt good about it. They felt great about my sales process. And they bought. And they were happy to buy. And it worked so well. And my sales increased dramatically in a very, very short amount of time. And I'm going to share a few of the principles with you for this new sales process that can perhaps make a huge difference for your life, okay? I know you've been pushed to believe that closing is the end-all, be-all of sales success, but I want you to stay open here, okay? I want you to open your mind here with me just a little bit to see how you feel about the difference of these two different sales processes, okay? Over the years, the process has been refined and it's been perfected. And I have actually written a book about it. It's been sitting right here. It's called Open the sell. Stop closing and start opening, or excuse me, start selling, okay? Open the sell. This book will be released here very, very shortly. If you're watching this video, it's most likely been released already because we're about ready to hit the presses all the way. So open the sell, okay? Here's a major, just a major principle about the new sales process, the new way of selling, and shedding off the chains of closing of yesteryear. Now listen, closing and all that, that was developed way long time ago, all right? They were teaching that since the 1950s and the 1970s and the 1980s, but I got to tell you something, my friends, all right? If you're still trying to sell like they did in the 1980s, then it's time to update, okay? Like society has progressed dramatically over the last just 10 years because of the internet and social media and everything else that we have going on. And especially over the last 30 years. If you're still trying to sell like 30 years ago and use these crazy, manipulative, and silly closes, then you're missing the boat, okay? You're going to turn into a fossil, right? You're going to be irrelevant. So it's time to update. And there's a 180-degree shift from closing, okay? And that is this. Instead of trying to close, it's all about how to open, okay? It's literally the exact opposite, okay? Instead of closing, start opening. Start to open the person up. Start to open the prospect and the client up to the possibilities of your offer, to the possibilities of the benefits of your product or service. Start looking at sales in a completely different way. Do you see how that feels different? Closing versus opening. Okay? You're going to open them up. You come from a place of integrity and value, and you open them up to the possibilities of your product or service. Okay? Now, closing, again, think about this. Why do salespeople have the worst reputation out of any business professional out there? By far, by like leaps and bounds, the salesperson. Because they're still trying to close. And here's the sad part for me. Most sales trainers, the majority of sales trainers out there, are still trying, or still not trying, they're still teaching the close. They're still teaching how to close. It's like, that's over with, my friends. It is dead, okay? The close is dead, all right? And so, here's the deal. I'm a sales trainer, and I train salespeople, professional salespeople. And when I come into contact with a salesperson, the vast majority of the times, it's one of the old school taught salespeople. All right? And they're trying to manipulate me. They're trying to, whatever they're trying to do. And guess what happens? I close down. Okay? I can't wait to get off the phone or get out of there. I'm trying to figure out every excuse I can to get the heck out of there because I feel dirty. All right? I don't like to talk to most salespeople, even though I'm a sales trainer. Is that sad or what? And it's because of just the way the industry has been taught for so many, many years. It can't overcome that. But now it is time. It is time for you to stop closing and start opening. All right? Here's something that happens. Okay? When you go into a sales situation, the moment that your client, your prospect, or somebody you're talking to knows that you're trying to sell them, knows that you're trying to close them, something happens. And this is what happens to me when I close down, okay? It's called cognitive disillusion, okay? Cognitive disillusion. That means they start to shut down truly, right? The way that they're thinking is they are very disappointed and they become disillusioned, all right? And they become disappointed, okay? and they start to sink, and they literally start to close down, right? Like their heart, their mind, their spirit, it starts to close, okay? And so closing does the opposite of what you want them to do. It actually closes them, okay? Think about it. A prospect or a client is already closed. You don't need to close them anymore, right? You need to flip it on its head, and you need to start to open, okay? Because cognitive disillusion, the way they think is becoming disappointed, and they start to close down. That's just a fancy way of saying they're closing down, right? Like emotionally, their thought process is I'm disappointed, I'm disillusioned, and I want to get out of here, okay? Cognitive disillusion, okay? And so what you need to do to combat this, because people have been trained, is you need to sell in a completely different way. And selling in a completely different way does this. There's a disruptive neural reframe. Okay? So when a client or a prospect goes into a sales situation, they're going to start going into cognitive disillusion. Okay? It's just going to happen. So what you need to do is you need to disrupt that disillusion, disrupt that disappointment, disrupt that icky, yucky feeling that they have, okay? And you need to reframe it in their mind, okay? Disruptive neural reframe. Reframe it all, okay? But you need to disrupt it. You need to stop it. And then you need to reframe it immediately. And that's what Open the Cell is all about, okay? There's a process that you go through in Open the Cell. It's called Rate It. R-A-I-D-I-T. Perhaps another video we'll get into the specifics of what Rate It is, but we don't have time in this video to do that. But there is a process. It's a 6-step process to the perfect sales process on how to open up a client rather than close them. And I got to tell you something, it is immensely effective. It is fun and satisfying to go through with a client, because you're truly serving them on a deep, deep level, okay? And it opens them up, and guess what? At the same time, it dramatically increases your sales, okay? Dramatically increases your sales. Rate It. You want to learn more, you can order my book. Or guess what? We probably have it. Well, we don't probably. We do have a training program coming up here real soon. And I hope that you're there, because there at the training program, you will learn what Rate It is all about. And you will learn the 6-step process on how to open people up. Okay? So again, you need to disrupt their cognitive disillusion and reframe their thinking, reframe that thinking, and begin to open them up. Okay? Here's a little bit how it works. Okay? The old sales process, what the old sales gurus taught many, many years ago, and most sales trainers are still teaching today, is you go through this process, and at the end, you lay it on heavy, and you close, right? Close. Okay? You're either a closer or you are a loser, right? Well, guess what? Closers are losers these days, okay? In our enlightened society that we have now, I'm sorry to tell you, things have changed, and that is dead, all right? So here's a new way to look at the sales process, okay? Here is a new way. So somebody, your prospect or your client, they start closed, okay? You got to remember that. Like, they start closed, so you have got to disrupt that closed mentality, the cognitive disillusion, okay? You got to disrupt that and begin to open, okay? And reframe. So you go through the Rate It process and you begin to open right here. Okay, you put like a little brace right here. And then you go through the next step of the process and you begin to open. And you put another brace right here. And you begin to open. And you get all the way through the sales process. Okay, and then right here is the decision threshold. Okay, if you can go through the process skillfully, with full of integrity, full of sincerity, that you're trying to help them, trying to serve them, You go throughout this whole process, then you break the decision threshold. And the decision threshold, once that is broken, they buy. And they buy happily because they see the value. They feel good about you. They don't feel manipulated. And you help guide them very skillfully, very professionally on how to make the best decision for them based upon your offer. And everything is clear. Everything is happy. Everything is professional. Everything is truly a journey of profound enlightenment. Okay? I know I'm throwing out some buzzwords there, but it's all in this rate it process. Okay? And once a client goes through this rate it, open the sale process, I'm telling you what. Once you go through that process with a client, you will never go through the closing process ever again. Okay? It is that powerful, and it will dramatically increase your sales. All right? There's a new way how to sell. Instead of closing, it's opening. And I invite you to join me at our training event coming up here very soon so that you can learn how to open the sale. And you can change your sales game forever. And guess what? You will begin to love the sales job that you have dramatically more by going through this process. It's a game changer, okay? It is a game changer. In fact, my mentor, Brian Tracy, who I've mentored with, said that this book, Open the Sell, is one of the most important sales books in the last 25 years. He said this book will change the way you sell forever. He highly recommends it, okay? And he is one of the legends of sales training out there. And he understands things have changed, okay? Things have changed. So here's the big lesson that I want you to do, okay? I want you to do this. I want you to take, I'll kneel down here, the red pill. Okay? Some of you will understand the reference. It's a Matrix reference. When Morpheus gives Keanu Reeves, forgot his name off the top of my head here, green pill, you stay where you're at and you try to be fat and happy. Take the red pill and everything opens up to you. A new reality opens up to you. Okay? All things change. I invite you to take the red pill and start to consider how opening the sale is infinitely more powerful, infinitely more enjoyable, and just the right way to sell. Okay? Open the sell because closing is dead. This is one of the biggest reframes, one of the biggest aha moments, one of the biggest paradigm shifts and epiphanies that I've had in my sales career to date. Okay? This changed the game for me. Okay? And it changed it so much. I told you the story. I wrote the book on it. Open the Sell. I invite you to learn more at the training event we have coming up here very soon. Invest, be there. It's going to be an amazing journey of sales enlightenment, my friends. Okay? I know that with the powerful principles we're going to teach in this seminar, in this training program, it will change your sales game forever. Okay? And you will dramatically increase your sales. These last 4 videos, again, we've been on a journey together. I hope it stretched your mind. You know, Ralph Waldo Emerson once said that once a mind has been stretched by a new idea, it never goes back to its original dimension. And I hope that some of the powerful shifts that I took in my sales career has stretched your mind, has stretched your perception. And my real hope is that by going through this video series, you're not the same person. Okay? You're not the same person as you were, that you have made some changes. And hopefully some of these changes have been so big that you're going to write me an email or contact me on social media and tell me all about it. I can't wait to hear from you, my friends. Okay? So with that said, I know you can do it. I know you can reach every sales goal that you have if you have the right tools and the right strategies. And opening the sell is going to be one of the major shifts that you will make in your sales career by attending this sales training program that you will make to dramatically increase your sales and start to reach your true potential. I know you can do it. This is Dustin Dart with Ascent Sales International. Can't wait to meet you soon. Go out and make it a great day. Thank you.